Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Again, my name's Eugene. I lead the growth team here at Android Enterprise, and that's basically everyone who's out in the field helping you be successful with end customers. This is a new, as Sean was mentioning, a new kind of track for us. As our platform has matured, we realized we need to spend more energy focused not just on the technical enablement of both folks in the ecosystem and customers, but helping to refine the go-to-market message so that customers understand the choices they have in front of them as the platform continues to mature and as our ecosystem, again, matures alongside us. And overall, thank you for spending time with us. I want to reiterate the message that David sent this morning. I know you guys have a lot of things to do. Spending time with Google is a very important thing for us, and we're glad it's important for you as well. And I'm specifically happy you're here, not outside enjoying the sun or printing water bottles, because I know those are very enticing things to do instead of listening to how to position Android Enterprise. But overall, I wanted to start setting the stage for what we're seeing in the market and why this is important. Oftentimes, we lose the context in our business about what's happening overall in the world. You hear very often the more catchy taglines about artificial intelligence, machine learning, smart supply chain, virtual reality. And you don't think about the fact that the foundations underlying all of those innovations is mobility, right? What is the point of having a really smart supply chain tool or application if your buyer out in the field does not have that at their fingertips? And what you see is an increased investment in mobility overall within enterprises. It's not slowing down. It's actually accelerating, because what organizations are realizing is the really cool, sexy things that CIOs are asking you to do, or asking your customers to do, aren't possible without mobilizing their enterprise. And in the context of this, we are also seeing an incredible amount of growth within Android in usage of Android within enterprises. In a world where overall smartphone device sales are plateauing, in a world where I just showed you the slide around increased investment in mobility, we're seeing a lot of that come through Android. Over nearly 300 million devices are going to be sold this year. So when you think about the opportunity that you have as service providers, as security providers, as software vendors, think about the overall market that you have to address in Android. And as a subset of that, we're seeing this tremendous uptick in Android Enterprise adoption. Again, David talked about this morning, but when you ladder up all those three slides, overall investment in mobility is growing. Within that context, Android is growing. Within that context, Android Enterprise is growing. So you as partners should think about, how do I capitalize upon this opportunity, and why are organizations not adopting it today? And so we spend a lot of time thinking about that, obviously, as Google. We think about that throughout the ecosystem, and we realize that there are generally three groups within customers that surface challenges for you as partners when you try to have the conversation around Android Enterprise. And we want to make sure you have the tools necessary to understand the investments we as Google have made in the product, in the platform, as well as in the ecosystem to address these concerns. So IT, line of business, and users. Well, first, we'll kind of dive into those things in order. So for IT, again, this is something that is not just specific to Android, obviously. This is something these are concerns that come up with almost any software purchase or device purchase. People are thinking about security. They're thinking about manageability. They're thinking about consistency. How do I make this easy? Because what I don't want to do is deal with bugs and issues and tickets. What I want to do is go to my CIO, go to my line of business partners, and help them be successful. So from the security perspective, again, these are some messages that you've heard before, but we want to frame it in the context of what customers are hearing, what we're hearing from customers, and what they're saying to you when you have conversations about Android Enterprise. So we've made investments from APIs to the Google Play Protect, to the operating system, and to the hardware. All of these layers we've invested in quite considerably, again, from both a product perspective as well as from an ecosystem perspective. In addition to this, we want to offer choice. The ethos of Android is choice, but it goes beyond just device choice. Management options is something that we invest quite a bit around to ensure that our customers can use the Android devices in any context that they want. Whether it's a personally owned device or corporate owned device, you can use our platform to enable that management. And when you then roll into enrollment, when you think about the idea that, yes, now I feel more comfortable around security. Yes, I feel more comfortable around the different types of management styles that I can implement. How do I do this with the least friction and the least overhead? We have a variety of enrollment methods, but zero-touch enrollment is obviously the least friction for the end user. They can open up the device, they can turn it on, and everything's set up for them. And as David again mentioned this morning, we have well over 100 resellers globally to date. What that means is you can go to your customers, whether they're small businesses or multinational organizations, and convey the message that their ability to enroll devices is incredibly, incredibly high. They don't have to learn a lot about the platform. They can go and purchase this device and enroll it without a lot of overhead. And finally, all of this isn't relevant if the tools and capabilities we've developed aren't adopted by you, the ecosystem. We have spent a lot of energy thinking about the customer and what it takes for them to be successful. That is the premise of the Enterprise Recommended program. The whole premise is that someone can go, look through an Enterprise Recommended list, and have confidence that top to bottom, everything that they need is available to them. We want to ensure that everything from the hardware to the services to the lines that they get are all consistent with the way we convey Android Enterprise value to the end customer. And so again, circling back to what you'll often hear, what we often hear from CIOs, CISOs, IT administrators. They worry about fragmentation. They worry about security. They worry about app distribution. And they worry about enrollment. Hopefully, we've gone through each of these columns to help you feel more comfortable with the conversation to overcome these objections with your customers. If not, we welcome you to pull our team in to help you learn how to address these concerns. And next, line of business. So you get past the CIO. You get past the IT admin. Now they're thinking, well, why do I need to do this? I've kind of managed the devices I need to manage already. I've got the devices out in the field. I'm not hearing a lot of need from my line of business. We want to put IT administrators, we want to put CISOs and CIOs in a position of enablement, not blocking. And what that means is helping lines of business achieve their goals and business outcomes. And we believe that Android can play a critical role in doing this. We can do this because we offer device choice. We offer applications and we offer innovation. These are things that they cannot get elsewhere in a complete platform. From a business perspective, by having them be able to choose a variety of devices at a variety of price points, they now can think through a more comprehensive solution to their business problem. It's hard to think through something like insurance adjustments when you only have one device choice and one type of application. What you need is to get a mobile device in the hands of everyone who is touching the customer and your back office and your data so everyone can stay coordinated. And you have to do this in a way that's cost effective. Again, our platform, and thanks to you, the ecosystem, is something that allows us to deliver all of these things to line of business in a way that they couldn't achieve without our platform. So when they think about the fact that I'm in healthcare, I'm in logistics, I'm in hospitality, what do I need? We can give them everything that they need. We can give them something from a smartphone all the way through augmented reality. So when you think about a situation where I have a very complex supply chain, my buyer in the field actually knows that an item was sold in the store in real time. A packer or shipper can have augmented reality on and do things in real time without having to go open a laptop or check back in with headquarters. And as they think about their future, lines of business want to know that the choice that they make today is scalable. They don't want to have the idea where I invest to solve the problem of now. I want to solve the problem of the future. And the investments that they make in Android should give them confidence that they can do that. Not only do you have the current devices of today and the current applications of today, you also have new devices that are coming out, like foldable devices. You have some of the first devices able to tap into 5G capabilities. You have a platform that allows folks to use devices in a desktop mode. These are all things that lines of business think about for the future. Again, when they're thinking about how do I optimize my supply chain as an example, they're not thinking the devices and supply chain issues of today. They're thinking, I don't want to ever have to revisit the foundations ever again. Obviously, that's not going to be possible, but we want to give them the strongest, most flexible foundation possible. And that's what we believe we provide to line of business. When they standardize on this platform, suddenly a lot of the new innovations and innovative tools that Google is known for is now made available to them. So when they're thinking, okay, after I get a device in the hands of everyone, can I build the application that I always thought of? Can I actually solve that business problem? Do I have ML behind this? Do I have AI behind this? Do I have all the tools necessary that my app developers can actually build the application that they need? And absolutely they can. You see this in the real world. The apps not only get developed faster, they are better. And again, when you're talking to a line of business, this is what they care about. They care about being able to deliver business value. They're not thinking about the device as an end goal. The device is a means by which they can deliver value to their business. And we want to make sure that you as partners, the IT admins, the CISOs of the world as well, are partners, true partners to lines of business. Now, all of this is meaningless unless you can actually deploy this in a real-life scenario. Marks & Spencer, as an example, has utilized all of these capabilities to optimize their supply chain. They have devices in the hands of all of their workers. So again, this real-time information is at their fingertips. It is hard to execute this when you say 5%, 10%, 15% of my workforce is mobilized. Stories like this are only possible when you have more uniform adoption of mobility. And now your developers in-house can think through a much more open space versus saying, okay, what application can I build for 500 employees? Now they can say, how do I truly transform my business? So again, when you go to lines of business, once you get past security and get past those objections, you now have to make sure lines of businesses are bought in. They need to understand that Android and the choice that we give them and the services that are available to them and the tools that are available to them all allow them to drive business impact. It allows them to think through future scenarios because devices will always be available to them to address any of the challenges they need, and a platform that can scale with everything that they need to solve for. And finally, end users. Both IT admins and lines of business will be nowhere if end users don't adopt. And so we, as Google, obviously spend a ton of energy thinking through what end users need in order to drive further adoption and delight of our platform. They obviously care about user privacy. We hear this story over and over again. I refuse to enroll my device. I refuse to use a work device because I don't want the organization, the company, understanding what I do in my personal life. I want to be able to turn off work. I want to leave my work phone at work. I don't want to take it with me. I don't want to use the application or device that I'm not familiar with. I have this device I use in my home life. Why is it that you're giving me this completely other experience in my work life? These are all things that if you're an IT admin and you go in as partners to talk to customers, that's not the conversation you want them to have. You want to be able to go in and say, you know what? Over 50% of your employees are probably using Android today. Why are you not enabling that? Why do you not think about a work profile where their personal and work data are fully separated? Allow them to turn off work on a single device. These are value propositions that actually make them heroes to the end user. This is something that we thought through, not because of an architecture choice. We thought through the end user demands and said, you know what? A work profile is the most transparent, flexible way by which to solve these end user challenges. So now you don't always have to think about security versus privacy and well-being. The fact that all of your work content is separated is something that solves the problem for both IT and end users. This is something that, again, from a philosophy perspective, we've adopted, not because of technical constraints, but because we believe this is actually the best solution to solve those concerns. When someone is able to see very clearly that there is a personal application and a work application, that's something that gives them confidence in using the work device. We've heard from many, many customers, they've tried to give out work devices to employees, and they just leave it. They leave it because they don't trust it. And so this has implications for everyone in the ecosystem. If you're an EMM, think about the challenges a CIO has. Why would I buy more licenses if my end users don't want to use the devices? If you're a service provider, if only 5% of my workforce is mobilized, what sort of applications can I actually build? This is something that we need to make sure is conveyed to end users when we have conversations with our customers. Tied to this is digital well-being. The idea that I can separate work and personal creates another benefit. It's easy to turn off. I don't have to go and turn off specific email accounts. I don't have to turn off specific applications. I can shut off my work life. That's an incredibly high value proposition for end users. This is something where in other architectures you just can't do. And so going back to the original point of bringing in the things that they're familiar with. Again, as people get exposed to these applications and devices earlier and earlier in life, they don't want work to be different. They want work to be an extension of their personal life. This is something that people have talked about for quite some time now, consumerization of IT. The idea that you can bring in an app ecosystem, productivity suites that people are familiar with, an operating system that people use by billions and billions of people around the world. It's something that helps the IT administrator become successful in their rollout. They also are very consistent in their experience of how they download applications. They know the Google Play experience. We've talked about the security tied to it. We've talked about how many applications are on there. But as an end user, you feel comfort in this. You feel comfortable that in a managed play scenario, I can go into a very familiar process, download the apps I need, and get my phone rolling. So again, as an end user, what do you think about? I think about making sure that my work and personal life are separated. I think about making sure that the corporation isn't monitoring everything I do. I think about a phone that I'm used to. I think about applications I'm used to. Again, these are points that Android Enterprise uniquely addresses. These are points that you as partners can leverage to enhance your business. So again, tying this all back together, when you go talk to a customer, think about the constituents within that customer base. There are IT concerns, there are line of business concerns, there are employee concerns. These are all areas we've made concerted efforts in investing a considerable amount of energy in on the Google side, and also from the ecosystem side. Leverage each other. Leverage the fact that there's consistency in devices. Leverage the fact that there's consistency in security. Leverage the fact that there's consistency in services. You all play a role in helping the customer be successful in their deployment of Android and Android Enterprise. So where does this resonate? We find several segments in customers where this message lands really, really well. We find that there are folks who have managed Android devices before, but because they're on device admin, they don't know that these features exist. They don't know about work profile. They just feel like I have the old way of management, and that's what it is. And a lot of times what this results in is they hit a wall with like end users. They hit a wall with lines of business because the management style of before doesn't afford them that flexibility. It doesn't afford them the work profile experience. So have that conversation with those folks. Have them understand the value of the new management style. There's also a very large segment that doesn't manage their devices or doesn't have an Android footprint in their IT-approved ecosystem. That is incredibly limiting. Again, when you think about the first macro stats that we talked about, when overall mobility investments are higher, when overall Android usage in enterprises is higher, the idea that I don't have that approved in my ecosystem is incredibly constraining. Talk to them about that. We've talked to a ton of customers who are not familiar with the investments that Google and the ecosystem has made in the recent past. 5 years may sound like a long time in our world because everything is evolving so quickly. There are a lot of businesses that haven't actually revisited these decisions in 5 years. This is something that you should have a conversation with your customer, and if it's helpful, bring us in. Engage us. A lot of customers want to hear from us because they believe that that message is the true message, despite all of the reinforcement we give that the message you guys give is just as true. Pull us in. Help us help the customer. Thank you.